Hello, hello, is this thing on? Hello? Can anybody hear me? I think we're good. I think we're in business here. Whoa, hold on. Hold on now. Hold on now as I'm on my way to setting records here, you know. To my knowledge, I don't think anybody has ever done this before as far as a live podcast out in nature. You know, just me and the spirits out here. What's going on, everybody? Good afternoon. You are listening to another episode of Black Man Into the Wild. You know I'm blessed to be here with you all today. And as always, I'm blessed to have you here with me as well. Now, before we get started, if you have not already, please go ahead and subscribe to this channel, like the video, and share with your friends if you like what you hear. Also, you can listen and download each episode of the podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We're streaming on all major digital streaming platforms. So, you know, if you have Amazon Audible, you know, if you have iHeartRadio, go ahead and tap in. We're right there, Black Man Into the Wild. I appreciate your support. Now, if you're watching the video form of today's episode, you can see that I am in a much different location than normal. And for that reason, we're going to go ahead and jump right into today's story. This is kind of like a proof of concept episode. Black Man Into the Wild was really sort of founded on the idea, you know, I do a lot of hiking. I'm in the Pacific Northwest, and I don't really see too many people on these trails that look like me. So I feel like I have an interesting perspective. And then there's the idea of technology, right? You know, I'm really passionate about technology and the advancements in technology. So that's what I'm doing here, just combining the two. And like I said, this is a proof of concept episode. So if it sounds a little bit different than what you're normally used to, if you're you know, a returning listener, then, you know, I apologize in advance. We're going to go ahead and jump right into this story here. I'm not sure if you all are familiar with ITER, I-T-E-R. ITER is an international nuclear fusion research and engineering mega project that's aimed at creating energy by replicating right here on Earth the fusion process of the sun. That is out in Europe, in France, and that's, I believe, you know, more of a government-funded nuclear fusion project. But what I'm talking about here today is I've been seeing some articles, a couple of stories about some privately funded nuclear fusion startups here in the United States and in Canada that I kind of want to get into a little bit here. There's this article from CNBC, Google and Chevron invest in nuclear fusion startup that raised $1.2 billion. It says Google and Chevron were part of a $250 million funding raise that was announced on Tuesday for TAE Technologies, which is a nuclear fusion startup with an unconventional strategy that has now raised a total of $1.2 billion. Now, nuclear fusion energy, I think we should probably try and, you know, maybe define that if we can. Now, I don't have internet out here, so, hello? So the article goes on to say, it says Google and Chevron are part of a $250 million funding raise announced on Tuesday for TAE Technologies, a nuclear fusion startup with an unconventional, okay, we read that. Nuclear fusion is often referred to as the holy grail of clean energy because of its promise of generating nearly unlimited emission-free energy without the equivalent harmful, long-lasting radioactive waste that nuclear fission produces. Fusion is, let's see, the elemental process that powers stars and the sun. Nuclear fusion is the process of fusing two atomic nuclei together, creating one single heavier nucleus plus energy as a byproduct. It says it's the same process that powers the sun, where hydrogen atoms are fused into helium atoms under intense heat and pressure. It says for decades, scientists have worked to recreate this process artificially on Earth, since it promises a power source that is free of greenhouse gas emissions and has the potential to produce even more power than nuclear fission, which is the process that current nuclear power plants use while leaving behind less radioactive waste. So it says, although scientists have achieved fusion, the key hurdle that has never been overcome is sustaining a fusion reaction that produces more power than it requires to keep going. For example, the leading type of nuclear reactor design, the tokamak, uses power-hungry electromagnets in order to keep the reaction in check. Now, we're talking about TAE Technologies, okay? It says TAE Technologies was founded in 1998 with the purpose of developing commercial fusion power. It says its current best effort, Norman, works by heating hydrogen gas to such temperatures that it becomes a plasma, a sort of soup of positively charged particles called ions and negatively charged electrons. This is an article from Newsweek, Tech and Science. Google-funded nuclear fusion reactor hits temperature way beyond the sun's core. Let's go ahead and dive in here. Plasma physicists said that they have achieved a nuclear fusion reactor temperature of more than 135 million degrees Fahrenheit at the Google-funded Norman reactor in California. It says this is many times hotter than the core of the sun, which is a relatively balmy 27 million degrees Fahrenheit, according to NASA. The temperature was achieved by scientists at TAE Technologies, who operate Norman, which was unveiled in 2017 and initially designed to keep plasma stable at 54 million degrees Fahrenheit, though improvements have since been made. Let's get into some of the specs of this thing. It says the machine is huge, measuring roughly 80 feet long, 22 feet high, and weighing about 27 metric tons. It consumes up to 750 megawatts of peak power, which TAE said is comparable to a utility-scale power plant. It says despite also needing powerful magnets, TAE said its approach was optimal because it uses a type of fuel called hydrogen boron that is expected to maximize the lifetime of the reactor. For those who are watching the video form of the podcast, I'm out here in the wild today, literally, Black Man into the wild. I'm not sure if the people that just walked over here to the left of me, to the right of you, are appearing on the screen right now. I think they probably are, but that's okay. We're going to go ahead and continue on. There are a couple of other companies. Let's see here. General Fusion, that is a Canadian company based in Burnaby, British Columbia, which is developing a fusion power device based on magnetized target fusion, MTF. As of 2018, it was developing a prototype to be completed by 2022. Right now, we are in 2022. Now, I think that company is backed by Jeff Bezos. I'll have to look more into that when I get back. It says MIT joins a major startup backed by Bill Gates to build a viable fusion machine. It says backed by investors including Bill Gates and energy giants Eni and Equinor. The CFS is a technology spin-out from MIT, which announced last year that it had successfully created a magnetic field of 20 Tesla, the most powerful magnetic field of its kind, using high-temperature superconducting HTS magnet technology ever created on Earth. Bill Gates, man, that guy is up to something. I don't know what it is, but he's up to something. There's really a lot going on in this space here. There's another company, let me see. The idea that I have here is, okay, nuclear fusion energy, clean energy, free, all this good stuff. What about petroleum? What about, importing natural gases? What about the petrodollar, right? We talk about all these things. I just wonder what happens if a new form of energy, a viable form of energy, sustainable, is able to be produced, commercialized, and some of the other players that we have here, that provide energy for the world, if, their order of things is disrupted with, some of these startups, they have aggressive timelines here. ITER is an international nuclear fusion research and engineering mega project aimed at creating energy by, again, what we've talked about already, creating this, fusion process of the sun right here on Earth. And the thing about, ITER is it's a government-funded project. And a lot of times you'll hear people talk about how, privately funded startups, they tend to move at rates a little bit quicker than, what is capable with government funding. So again, when we're talking about some of these companies like General Fusion, Helion, TAE, I think that we're going to see something pretty incredible here down the road. Again, this is Black Man Into the Wild. Before I get out of here, you can listen and download each episode of the podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We're streaming on all major digital streaming platforms, including Amazon, Audible, and iHeartRadio. Thanks for listening, everybody. This has been another episode of Black Man Into the Wild. Have a great day.